Just Outdoors is brought to you in part by
Jervalin Hardware Hank, Deer River. Jervalin Hardware offers a broad selection of paints and sporting goods and a complete line of plumbing and electrical supplies. Jervalin Hardware, 108 Main Avenue, Deer River.
Hi, my name is Tom Chapin, and welcome to Just Outdoors. This is a program to bring you the bare facts about the woods, waters, and wildlife of Itasca County. And I always have some pretty special guests on. We have a special guest today, and his name is Taylor Hochstein.
Yep.
And Taylor, you are the new conservation officer in the Hill City District of Northern Aiken County. But you also cover parts of Itasca County also.
I sure do. Yep.
Anyway, it's Itasca County show, but you're going to be talking about all the things that you do as an officer, and we're going to be talking about the laws, some of the new regulations that are a little confusing, and where you can find information on some of those laws. A little bit of boating information, recreational things and things like that that you cover in your job. And so what I'd like you to do is tell the audience a little about Taylor Hochstein.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to say I appreciate the invite coming on the show. I was pretty excited when I first heard about it. I know I've heard I have a face made for radio, so I don't know if we'll give the TV thing a shot. But
well, I don't think you're going to have a problem. We've talked earlier, so it's going to be great.
Right.
So tell us a little about yourself and where you're from and how you happen to wind up as a conservation officer, game warden from my era, in Hill City.
Well, I'm originally from Battle Lake, Minnesota. It's a small town over in Otter Tail County. Lots of lakes over there, plentiful things to do outdoors. So I grew up doing outdoor things, fishing, boating, snowmobiling, all those things I really enjoyed growing up. After high school, I moved to Duluth on and off for several years and really started to enjoy the outdoors again, reconnect with the outdoors while I was living there. I got into camping, started fly fishing for steelhead, and really started to enjoy the outdoors. And something just kind of clicked that these outdoor, the recreation that I enjoy, I just wanted to protect that resource. So it clicked that the game warden was the right choice for me. I needed to go to school to become a conservation officer. So from there, I moved up to Ely, and I went to school at Vermilion Community College.
Sure.
So I did their wildland law enforcement program there. After I finished up with school, I looked for a job, and I ended up getting a job with Douglas County as a water patrol deputy over there in Alexandria, Minnesota.
Oh, that's good pre-work for this job.
It was excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
After that, I was able to get a job as a conservation officer for the Mille Lacs Band, and got some really great experience with them. I got hired on with the DNR about a year ago. I went through the training at Camp Ripley. It's about 3 months training there. They prep you for all the things that you're going to encounter in the field. It's really great training. They set up scenarios. There's lots of very qualified instructors that help you through it. They kind of set you up for anything you're going to see in the field. After that, you go through about 3 months of field training. And that's where you work closely with another officer, a veteran officer, and you go out in the field with them. I was able to do some training up here in Grand Rapids, which was excellent. I trained a little bit out in Duluth, and then I was down in Wilmer for a little bit, and then came back up here. I got started in the Hill City Station about in December, and been just getting used to the area and working it, and I've really enjoyed it so far.
Oh, sounds great. Sounds like you love the job. You're going to love the job. You got on for the right reason.
Yep.
And that's to protect the resource. And boy, there isn't anybody that protects it more than conservation officers. I mean, if it wasn't for you guys and gals, it would be nothing.
Well,
It'd just be total anarchy out there in the woods. I mean, people will take advantage sometimes
Yep.
of the resource, but most people are pretty good, aren't they?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Most people we
The
contact,
majority.
they're great people.
Yeah.
They're out there trying
Yep.
to enjoy themselves, and that's what we like to see that.
Yeah,
so.
so just one bag of egg can kind of convert that a little bit, but that's what you do. But
Absolutely.
you're really a promotion person, aren't you, as a conservation officer? Promote safety, promote good respect for the wildlife and so on. And don't you actually tell the people when you meet them that the regulation, what the reason for the regulations?
Absolutely. We try to talk to the people, have a conversation, and there are a lot of questions that people have, and we're there to help answer those questions and help them understand what we're really doing and why those rules and regulations are important, that we enforce those and that they follow them. So
Yeah, they're important, and some people don't understand why.
Right.
And I think a good part, and I see a lot of you younger guys, that's a priority for you, is to explain to people, because there's a lot more regulations than there used to be. They just kind of keep adding on, but
Yep.
there's a reason for them, and they're connected
Absolutely.
to wildlife management and so on, and the fisheries. And excellent. First of all, you have a particular patrol area that you're responsible for, and then that you can expand that a little bit too. Could you explain kind of where that is and what's that all about?
Sure. Well, an officer has a patrol area. Mine is the Hill City area. So I go County Road 3, which is about halfway between Hill City and Aiken. I go from there north up to pretty much the bottom of Pekegama Lake. I go from, on my east boundary is the Mississippi, and my west is the county line. So it's a fairly large area, and most officers have quite a large area to cover. Most do they cover it very efficiently. But overall, it's the state of Minnesota that we work for, and we all try to help each other out, and we'll go anywhere to make that happen. So.
And you have jurisdiction anywhere in the state, isn't that correct?
That's correct, yep.
Okay. And you also have, you also can enforce, you are able to enforce other than game laws and fish laws, is that correct?
That's right. We're licensed peace officers,
right.
Just like your county deputies, your state troopers, your local police departments. We have the same license as they do. So we can enforce any laws as they can enforce conservation laws as well. But we're focused on fish and game, but we are more than happy to help out any other agencies as needed. And we're also more than happy to help out any other DNR divisions. If anybody else needs a hand with anything, we're more than happy to help.
So it's a cooperative environment out there with all law enforcement, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, if there's somebody with a badge out there, they're ready to help you, or you're ready to help them, and it's just a combination. A lot of times you need help out there, especially if there's an emergency situation, I imagine.
Yep.
And particularly with the county, most counties also have a water patrol and so that you work with them too, don't you?
Absolutely.
There's overlapping situations there on the lakes?
Yep. And we get along really well with these other agencies, and that's moving forward. We will continue to work with them and try to serve the public the best we can.
Yeah, great. So if you had a call in like maybe over in Hibbing or something, you would go that far in some situations if there's an emergency?
Some situations we don't have necessarily a distance we can go. It's kind of a common sense thing. We'll go as far as we need to help people out, and if not, we'll make sure that we get someone who can help out, and we'll figure it out.
But the patrol area that you're responsible for, the calls that come in, you are the main responsibility there.
Yes.
But let's say you have a day off, or you're off somewhere, and somebody else can come in and take care of that.
Absolutely. Yes.
And let's get this out of the way. How does a person get a hold of a conservation officer if there is somebody sees a violation, or there's an emergency, or there's an animal, or what's the situation?
Sure, that's a good question, Tom. We're dispatched through the State Patrol radio dispatching center. So if you get a hold of State Patrol, they can figure out who the closest conservation officer to you is, and they can notify them that you have a question or need assistance in some way, and they'll get that closest officer in touch with you as soon as they can. Another option would be, I always carry this booklet everywhere we go, and we'll talk a little bit more about this booklet coming up. But on the back here, there's a general DNR number. And if you give that number a call, a lot of times they'll be able to help you out off that general line. And if for some reason they can't help you out, they'll get in touch with a conservation officer, and in turn they'll get in touch with you. So the number on the back of these booklets, and I believe it's on the back of all the booklets, whether it be the fishing regulation booklet, the hunting regulation booklet, ATV regulations, snowmobile regulations, it's all going to have that general number on there, and that's a good number to call if you need assistance.
Okay, so and they can. You also give out cards with your personal number on there too. It isn't right.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
So if we give you a card and it has our work number on it, go ahead and call that.
Sure.
And if we're not able to help you out at that point, we'll get someone who can.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think folks have to understand a little bit of how few of you there are in the state of Minnesota.
Sure.
Do you
Sure.
have
Well, don't
numbers
give
on
away
that?
any secrets. There's one of us behind every tree. So.
That's true. Yeah. Maybe there's less trees now. I don't know. But yeah, there's only like 140 in the field, I believe, something like that, isn't there?
Yeah. I think you're right on. They're close on that number. I'm not 100% sure how many of us there are, but there's not that many. But from what I've seen, we do a really efficient job of covering our stations, and we're out there, and folks see us out there and come in contact with us quite a bit. So
the TIP organization, the connection there?
Yeah, yep. So it stands for Turn In Poachers. And that number is going to be on the back of this booklet as well, on the back of the Fishing and the Regulation booklet, or Fishing and Hunting Regulation booklet. And if you give that number a call and give them your information, we're in turn going to get that information, and we can go investigate that. If you call in, you can remain anonymous. That's just fine. The more important thing is that information gets to us, and we can further look into it.
Yeah.
So.
And, you know, the expectations of people that call in sometimes are a little higher than what actually occurs, because you have to have almost a person see what's going on, a violation, and they also have to, in turn, maybe have to act as a witness in the future case. So that's probably the first question you're probably going to ask these people, isn't it? Would you like to be a witness in this? Because otherwise, it's pretty hard to make a case.
Yep, absolutely. And if they can recognize what they're seeing, whether it be vehicle colors, vehicle types, good descriptions on the people, all that stuff goes a really long ways in our investigation.
Yeah.
So all that good information, if that gets over to us, we'll work on it and try and get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. And, you know, the anonymity is the big thing here. Nobody has to know who you are or anything.
Right.
But, you know, when somebody calls in a tip on a game and fish, what they're doing is they're trying to make things out there equality and fairness, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, they're taking advantage of you as a licensed legal fisherman or hunter.
Right.
And if people could understand that a
Yep.
little more, then they would know that actually what are they doing? They're actually stealing from the state, which is us, right? Poaching?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, and it's all about fairness. And if
right.
you and I have to follow the rules,
Yeah.
it's not fair that somebody doesn't.
Yeah.
So you just got to look at it. You're not turning somebody in to punish them. You're looking at making it fair for yourself and the rest of the population.
Exactly. That's what it's all about, for the people.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Well, since we're talking about laws and regulations, let's look at it this way. We're probably going to get into some specific laws here,
Sure.
especially fishing with limits and seasons and hours, methods of taking and all this. What's your typical day as a conservation officer if you hook up to your boat and you head out for a day of work? Give us a little idea of what goes on there.
Sure. Well, if we go out and patrol a lake, we're going to be looking for certain things. We're going to be looking for the people that are out there fishing. And we're going to look for people, maybe they're doing something wrong, maybe they're not doing something wrong. But we just need to go out there and look into it a little bit. So if you were out in a boat and we came up to you, what you could expect would be a check. So we're going to come up to you and we're going to have a conversation with you, just introduce ourselves, let you know who we are. And if you're fishing, we're going to perform a regulatory check. So that means we're going to ask you to see your fishing license, your current fishing license that you bought. We might look at the equipment that you're using to fish that day. We might ask you a couple questions, probably ask you how many fish you've caught or something like that. And if you have fish, we're going to take a look at them. If, depending on what kind of lake it is, if it has special regulations or not, or how many fish you have, we're going to count your fish. We're probably going to measure your fish. We're going to take a look at it. If everything's good to go on that, then we're going to slip into a safety check. We're going to check a couple other things on your boat. We're going to make sure that you have a life jacket for every person on board, your typical Type 2, Type 3 wearable life jackets. If your boat is 16 feet or larger, you're going to need a throwable life jacket. That's going to be like that seat cushion with the handles on it.
16 feet or longer. Any boat that's 16 feet or longer needs one of those in there.
A throwable, yep.
And they got to be available too, don't they?
So with the wearable life jackets, those need to be readily accessible, which means you need to be able to get to it in a reasonable amount of time if there's an emergency. So you don't want to have that shoved at the bottom of your boat in containers with a bunch of other stuff on it. You want to make sure those are ready to go. With the throwable, now that's more of an emergency type tool. That one needs to be immediately accessible, which means to me that needs to be out and ready to grab if somebody were to need an emergency. So we're going to check for life jackets, that type of thing. We're going to throwable, we're going to look for a fire extinguisher if your gas can or your gas tank is enclosed in an enclosure, a sound producing device, all those safety things we're going to be looking for. So.
Okay, back to the PFDs, personal flotation devices. Is there an age bracket there where certain people have to wear them?
Yes.
What's the age on that?
So it is mandatory that children under the age of 10 wear their life jacket when the boat is underway. Okay. Unless it's, moored or permanently anchored, you have to be wearing that life jacket. Even if you're under 10.
A 10-year-old, but if they're sitting there anchored, they don't necessarily have to have it on.
Not if you're at anchor.
Not if you're at anchor, okay. New types of personal flotation devices are these CO2 blow-up ones. Tell us a little about those.
So those are a great new tool that people, I'm seeing more and more of those.
Expensive, but...
Yeah. What they are is they're not your traditional life jackets that strap up. They're going to be it's just more or less a collar that you wear around and it comes down, and it's got an inflatable tube basically inside of it. And there's a couple different types, but most of them will have a yellow handle on the bottom, and if you pull that yellow handle, the tube inside will expand, and that's your PFD. There's other types where if it gets any moisture in it, so if you were to fall in the water, it gets moisture, that'll automatically go. And then there's other types where if you hit the water, that'll go off. But what's something a little bit that people need to know about those type of life jackets is for most of them, and it says on the label on the inside that you have to be wearing that for that to count as your PFD.
Ah. There you go. Can't be sitting on the seat. That's what I was kind of looking at there. So
Yep.
If you're going to have that particular type of device out in your boat, you better have it on.
You better have it on for it to count as that.
Yeah, because otherwise it's worthless.
Yep.
Like that. So, and you're seeing more and more of those now, huh?
Absolutely.
Like that. Okay.
Yep. And they're comfortable enough where people are able to wear them, and it's a good option. So.
Yeah, they are comfortable. I'm not totally sold on them personally myself. I think they're good. I'm learning how to wear mine. I bought one, and I'm not sure. You know, because if you fall in the water, you have to take another step. If you don't have it charged, you have to pull the plug or pull the cord. I'm sorry.
Right.
And so okay.
Yep, it's a new product. There's pros and cons, and
but the law still allows it. So,
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And don't you suggest that people wear their life jackets?
Absolutely. I don't. Whatever kind it is, it's always safer to have it on.
Just have it on because you may be able to predict yourself, but how about the other person that's coming at you and with the sun? And
Right,
it's
right.
just, it can be pretty crazy out there. There's no center lines.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that come into play, and
Yeah.
safety is the #1 priority.
Do you see alcohol out there quite a bit in the boats? Or
We do,
But
we do.
It's legal.
It's legal to an extent. We, of course, advise, against it. We want sober, safe drivers.
But
It is legal, but we would prefer that people stay sober. So.
Because the higher accident rates involve higher chances of alcohol being involved.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
But as far as being in a boat with alcohol that's in an open container, it's still legal as long as the driver.
Yep. As long as the driver is of age and they're under the .08.
Oh wait, and
So,
that's fine.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not as restrictive as some people think. You can still.
It's not as
Enjoy yourself
restrictive
out
as
there.
a motor vehicle on the roadway,
right,
but you
right.
definitely need to be responsible and
Yeah. But the elements of prosecution is about the same as a vehicle, isn't it?
yes, absolutely. As far
If you
as
get a DWI in a boat, it's the same as a vehicle
it is.
on the road.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it can be added on
Yep.
to
Yep.
make it a higher level. Yeah, so
Exactly.
you got to understand. And that's with a snowmobile too, isn't it?
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yep.
ATV?
So any wreck vehicles
Wrecked vehicle
are now
now, yeah.
counted the same
That's
as
a
any
change.
other DWI, and that is a change
Yeah.
within the last couple of years
Yeah.
here. So.
Okay, so when you pull up on this boat, you're looking for just generally, actually, to meet the people
Yep.
and see if they have any questions. And as you're doing that, you can check things out. How many lines? You're still only allowed one line,
Yep. Yep.
fish in Minnesota.
Yep.
And of
So.
course, the licensing is a big thing too.
Yep. So we're talking to the people. If we have violations, we'll address them at that point.
Mhm.
That's what's so great about our job is, 9 times out of 10, that there are no violations.
Right.
People are out there and they're trying to do the right thing, and it's a great thing. If we see violations at that point, we'll address them.
How about having the physical license, fishing license on your person?
Mm-hmm.
Is that?
Well, the rule is that you have to have it on you. A lot of people don't have it in their possession, and they want us to go ahead and look that up. And we have the resources to go look that up, but it's a pain. It takes extra time. And we much prefer that you carry it on you. So technically you're in violation if you don't have that on you. You want to make sure that it's in your personal possession when we check it.
Yeah, there may be kind of a warning possibly there too.
A warning or a citation for not having it on you. You want to
Yeah.
make sure that you carry that
Yeah.
license.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, maybe we should start getting in a little bit to the limits of fish here.
Sure.
There's basic state limits on, let's just take the walleye and the northern, okay? I mean, not all fish have, but statewide limits. And,
Well, with the walleye, there's
Yep.
a statewide limit. With the northern, that has been changed in the last couple of years. There's kind of a variation, which we'll talk about. So.
okay, well, the walleye, that's, you've got a daily limit, we'll get
Yep.
into it, and a possession limit, let's say walleyes, which is 6 basically, unless you're on a special reg lake, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And not all lakes are special. Most lakes aren't special
Right.
reg
Yep.
lakes. So,
Yep.
but the daily limit and possession limit are the same, right?
Well, for most fish species, they are the same. The only exception to that, any game fish, your daily limit, which means the fish that you catch in one day, is going to be the same as your possession limit, which is the fish that you have in your possession. The only game fish species that's going to vary from that is going to be the perch.
Okay.
And that is kind of special. It's 20 daily, and you can have 40, so double that in your possession. All the rest of the fish, you can only have your daily limit in your possession.
Define possession.
Possession would be in your household, where you keep that fish, in your camper, once they've been taken off the lake and put into a container at that point. So.
That's your possession. Now, you have 3 more people at home
Mm-hmm.
that aren't licensed.
Yep. So what you can do is you can have a limit for a daily limit, a possession limit for each member of your household. You can also gift fish away, but there's certain things that you need to know in order to do that. And you can find how to gift fish in this regulation booklet. There's a section on how to gift fish. You're going to need to put certain things on there. You're going to need to put the time and date, the person you're gifting them to, who they're coming from. There's a certain amount of
License
information
number
that
and so
needs
on,
to
yeah.
go on there.
Yeah.
And most of the common questions that we get from the general public can be found in this regulation book.
Right, they're pretty good in there.
They're really good, and
A little hard finding it sometimes, but they're in there.
Yeah. And for the newer generation, there's a great option that you can get on your phone.
Yeah.
And you can look at the rules and regulations up pretty quickly from that. So
Let's talk about this gifting one more time and possession limits. You're not, if a person catches 6 walleyes in the morning, that person's done fishing for walleyes, no matter what he does with those fish.
they
that
have
day,
reached,
right?
at that point, they've reached their daily limit. They can't get that limit again within that day. If they were to gift them away that day, they could go out the next day and reach their daily limit once more.
Sure.
But until they have those fish out of their possession, they're still within their limits. They've
Yeah.
caught their limit for that day.
They could take, just a scenario, they could take them home that day and give them or have them in their freezer because they have 3 other people
Sure.
that will cover those fish. And they can take 6 more walleyes, but not that day,
Not that day. That's
Right.
correct. Yep.
next day. And they could continue to do that until they're filled up with their possession limit, right?
Right.
So 4 people in a household, that's 24 walleyes and
Sure.
so on, okay.
Yep.
Okay, well, we'll get into the northern thing, but let's talk about special reg lakes, which
Sure.
most of the people really around here fish.
Yeah.
All the bigger lakes seem to have special regs on them. What's the situation there?
So what special regulations do is they kind of limit what you can catch on that lake. They're going to be more conservative limits or lengths or something like that. So just some of the lakes around here will have a special regulation for walleyes. You can still keep your 6 walleyes, but usually from like 17 inches to 26 inches, all those fish in that protected slot, they'll call it, have to go back. So they're protecting a certain size fish. That protects that good breeding population, the good spawning population. And over just a couple of years, you really see a difference in the fisheries in that lake.
There's a reason for the law.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. It's a more quality fishery overall. The fish are usually bigger, and that happens fairly quick after these regs are put on a lake. And there's usually more of them. So talking to our fisheries guys, they're seeing really exciting things happening once they put these special regs on a lake. It's just a more quality fishery overall.
So these special regs, when you get off that lake, even though the limit may be 6 statewide,
Yep.
but it's 4 on that lake, that's all the fish you can have at that time.
Yep.
Unless you go to another lake, you can add on to that limit another couple fish.
If you don't exceed your state limit.
If you don't exceed your state limit. But that's going to be pretty hard to prove sometimes, isn't it? So
Well,
the burden is
we're out there
you're
watching.
out there watching,
so,
yeah.
Yep,
But the burden is on the officer, I suppose, to prove that. But most people are pretty straight on that. They're pretty honest. on
Well,
stuff
and
like
most
that.
people understand what those special
for,
regulations are for. It's
Yeah.
to improve the fisheries and have a better fishing opportunity for everybody. So
There's a lot more bigger fish getting caught these days.
Yeah, absolutely. Bigger fish
On
and
some of these
Yep,
lakes. Yeah,
yep.
I think so too. So the possession thing, you get a lot of questions on that, don't you?
we do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
the limits and possession and how many fish can I have and
There's several lakes, where you, with the state regulation, you can keep 20 sunfish, but on some of these special regulations, you may only be able to keep 5 sunfish or something like that. Just overall, it's better for the fisheries, and they're seeing good
Yeah.
things happen.
it isn't generally the reason for the limits, besides saving a quality fish and and measuring and putting out equality for everybody so that everybody's got a chance. Doesn't it stop this accumulative mentality of people to fill their freezers? Isn't
You know, and I'm obviously new to the game, but from what I'm talking with people now, it seems like people are out there to enjoy themselves and to catch quality fish. They're not out there to fill their freezers and like they may be used to. There's still a handful of people that are like that, but most people get out there and they're investing a lot into a sport. They want it to be a quality sport and they want it to be fair for everybody. So
more of a trophy mentality now, isn't there?
I would say,
than there used to be.
Yep.
It was a lot of accumulative things when I was out there, but now it's more, I caught a bigger fish, take a picture, and we can keep that, but maybe I should just throw it back or whatever.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with keeping it, perfectly legal.
Yep.
Whatever, if it's legal fish. So interesting. Okay, so we have limits and the seasons. The seasons usually start at midnight on a lot of these fish, other than trout. I think there's a special sunrise thing on that, on trout. So anything else on checking a boat when you're out there?
That's what I kind of explained is going to be our basic check, and if there's anything else we need to look into, that's what we're going to do. But we're going to look for, the other thing I guess I didn't mention would be a registration on your boat. We're going to make sure that that's current and you're good to go with that. So there's a number of things that we're looking for. Most people are pretty squared away, and if they had questions, we can answer them. We're out there to help. We're not out there to we're out there to help and hopefully stop poaching in the long run if we come in touch with it. But otherwise, most people are pretty good.
Can you go out on a lake as an officer and check any boat at any time?
Well, if there's nothing wrong with a voluntary contact, we can go and start a conversation with anybody just as you can, or anybody else can. But what we're looking for is regulatory checks. So if somebody's fishing or something like that. The other thing is if there's a violation, say somebody's gunnel riding or riding on the side of the boat or something, any safety issues, anything like that, we're going to go. If they're breaking a regulation or a rule somehow, we're gonna go and address that. But otherwise, what we're primarily looking for is fishing. So
okay, fishing. So that's that's where you start.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now let's take that boat and they're coming into shore, and there's certain things that have to be done there when they're loading and unloading their boat at the accesses. So this has to do with exotic species and things like that. So what are you looking for there? When you come to an access and you see people, what are you going to talk to them about?
Well, as folks have probably noticed, there's been quite an advancement of exotic species, invasive species in the state, and they're spreading fairly rapidly. And we want to slow that spread. We want to stop it if possible. We want to do everything we can. And it seems like the general public agrees. They want to help out with this as well. It's an issue that we all need to
affects their fishing.
Right, absolutely. So you might notice inspectors at the access, and they're going to be there to educate you and help you along with some of the changes that have been made over the years and things that we need to do to stop the spread of invasive species. So the biggest thing that you can do really is just make sure you clean, drain, and dry your boat. You want to make sure it's clean. When you pull it out of the access, you want to make a lap around. You're looking for any weeds that might be hanging off, anything that's obvious where you could be transporting invasive species. Another thing is with the zebra mussels especially, just transporting water. You're putting at risk transporting invasives because that water could have veligers or eggs in it from those zebra mussels. So it really doesn't take much water to transport and you can't see it, it's invisible, transport an invasive species. You don't have to actually see the zebra mussel in there. It could have eggs in that water.
Right.
So that's why it's illegal to transport water from a water body. So what you want to do is you want to pull your drain plug and make sure all that water is drained out of your boat. You also want to make sure that your live wells are drained out and that you're not transporting any water, that everything's all cleaned up. At some of the accesses, you might notice a decon station. If a lake is known to be infested, or if you're moving from one infested body to a body that might not be infested, you want to take every precaution to make sure that your boat is cleaned up. and some of those decon units can use hot water, and they'll kill any zebra mussels or any veligers that could be on your boat.
Okay, and this also has to do with transporting minnow water too. And you can find out more about that in the regulations.
Right.
But you know, you could transfer these exotics with minnow water just like you could water in your boat. So there's special regulations on what you do with your minnows.
Absolutely.
And how you transport those minnows off the lake if you want to keep them.
Right.
And you might have to bring extra water and things like that, but it's all in there. It's a little complicated, but once you learn it, and once people learn how to do that, it's not going to be so bad. And that's a big part of it too, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing to remember is that you can't transport water from a water body out of that water body.
Just if you think that way, you got water, okay.
This water can't
have
go.
to do something.
Right.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you're not taking water out of a water body or bringing water from a different water body or a different water source onto that water body. You want to make sure that if you're out on a lake, you're using that as your water.
Okay, great. Well, you know, we're trying to keep it simple here, and I think we have. I think people can understand what you're saying and what needs to be done. It isn't real complicated, but if there's any more information they need on it, it's in these books.
Yep, and there's information at the accesses. A lot of times they're going to have boat inspectors. They can help you out a lot. They have really great information on it. And like I said, most people are really trying and they want to protect our lakes. So it's a good thing. We're seeing people that are evolving with it and understanding that there's an issue, and everybody's doing their part to solve it.
And the more people talk about it, I think the better it is.
Yeah,
too.
absolutely.
You hear people talking, well, we got to do this and this and this. Well, at least they're talking about it, so they know what to do. It's a good deal. Yeah, I think you guys are doing a good job for that. You know, the more information and education you can get out there. Do you go to schools, or are you planning on going to some schools and talking to kids? And, well, I mean, this is part of your job, right, PR?
Right, PR, yeah. We do a number of different things, and we're really involved with different recreation vehicle training classes for kids. We do ATV safety classes, snowmobile safety classes. We go and we interact with the kids. We give law and ethics talks. So we try to interact with the youth population as much as possible, because they're the future.
Yeah. Let's talk, I think we're pretty well done with fishing here. If there's any more questions, they can call you or find it in the book, or there's ways to find information on that.
Yeah, and I would really stress these booklets. When you buy your license, or next time you're at a gas station or somewhere where you can get your hands on one of these, read through it. There's going to be new regulations, what's changed for that year at the beginning of the booklet. And if say you're going to go out and you're going to target northern pike or something like that, you want to make sure that you understand the rules with northerns for that particular year.
Yeah, northern pike here, you're allowed 10 now.
Right.
Which is amazing. But there's a slot limit that you have to throw back. And it's not that hard to bring a tape measure along.
Right.
Throw it back. And you're going to have bigger northerns later.
Absolutely.
In the future.
Yeah. So the northern pike, there's a new regulation where you can keep 10 of them. But anything from 22 inches to 26 inches is in a protected slot limit. You have to throw that back. And that's trying to protect those bigger fish and hopefully eliminate some of the smaller ones, so we get a better breeding population and a bigger quality fisheries overall. So.
And it's still fairly liberal. It still allows fish over that 26.
Yep. You can have 2 over 26. So from what I'm hearing from northern anglers is that they really mostly seem to like the regulations because they're...
Well, they figure they're taking fish home, and they still can, because it's still pretty liberal. It's still a lot like it was before.
Yep.
But don't they feel like they're doing something for the resource?
Absolutely.
When they catch these?
And most people have kind of noticed that they're catching a lot more of those hammerheads or the smaller ones, and say, hey, we'd like to change that a little bit. So everybody seems to be on board, and I think it's going to make a good difference in the future. So.
Okay, we're getting toward the end here, but you got other things that you enforce.
Right.
Even during the summer, I suppose, you see an ATV going along the road, recreational vehicles like that, ATVs, and of course eventually snowmobiles, which probably another month or two we'll see those. So ATVs, what are you looking at there? It seems like the rate of injury on those things are going up a little bit. And I don't know if it has to do with the change in the rules where you're allowed on county roads now, and things like that, but I'm sure it does.
With that, There's been some changes. I think a lot of them are good overall, as long as people remain responsible and safe. The biggest thing that we're looking for is safety things. Children under 18 need to have a helmet on.
Okay.
If there's a provided seatbelt, they need to wear that. So there's those safety things, that's the main priority. Operating on different roadways, that varies from county to county, what
Right.
you can and can't do. That all is, you can't operate on a state highway or an interstate or something like that where there's a high traffic rate, so we're watching people operating on roadways that they can't. Beyond that, we're just looking for safety things, any excessive speed, any reckless driving, that type of thing. We're looking for everybody to be safe. And
So if you stop an ATV along the road or in the ditch, there's a reason why you're stopping them, isn't there?
yeah, yep, there would be a reason why we're stopping them.
I mean, it's not, you're just going to go out and
Right,
stop everyone. There's a reason for that.
absolutely, yep.
Okay. As far as helmets and so on, I seem to see a lot of younger kids out there riding with an adult with no helmet on and stuff. That's a good reason to stop them, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's, we're trying to educate the parents as well.
Yeah.
But that's one big thing that we're seeing is kids riding or being a passenger without a helmet.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get the word out that
Yeah.
children under 18 need a helmet. It needs to be a DOT approved helmet, a good four-wheeling helmet. It can't just be a bicycle helmet or something like that.
Okay. And there are rules on how old you have to be and where you can ride and who you. It's fairly complicated, but that's all given in the instructions that you guys give
Right.
males to in your classes.
Yep.
So and it's all in the ATV book too.
Yep. And as far as the rules and regulations over all the sports, you got hunting, fishing,
Yeah.
ATVs, snowmobiling, and I get a lot of people that say, well, there's so many rules, we can't possibly know all the rules. It's up to you as a sportsman to know and understand the rules of the sport you're partaking in. You don't have to know all the fishing regulations if you're on an ATV. You need to know the ATV rules that apply to you. And the best way to find those rules are looking in the ATV safety regulation booklet or getting in touch with somebody that can help you. And that whether that's calling the number and get in touch with one of us,
Sure.
we're all more than happy to help out. And we would rather see people take those steps on the front end of things than to have to deal with us later and then us hear that whole I didn't know spiel. So what we want to do is educate, help out, and get compliance before things go south.
Yeah, one of the indicators I would think, if you're a new ATV owner or rider, is if there's a child involved, there's going to be something special there as far as the regulation
Right.
to protect those young kids.
And don't get us wrong, we like to see children out
sure.
there. We
I
like
mean,
to see them involved with whatever sport it may be or whatever, but we like to see them doing it safely. So.
Okay. Well, here we are. We're just about wrapping her up. We got a young new conservation officer in the Hill City area here, folks, and he's going to probably be here for a while, huh?
Yeah. I love the area. I'm very enjoying getting to know people. It
Sure.
seems like a bunch of great people in this area. So I'm looking forward to spending some time here and getting to know everybody and working. So.
Kind of nice to have a lot of public land, I'll bet,
Oh,
around
man.
here.
It's
That you don't have in other areas of the state,
Right.
and
Right.
just to see people coming up, recreating, whatever they're doing.
exactly.
That really makes a station, doesn't it, as far as a conservation officer?
This area is amazing.
Yeah,
No matter which
yeah.
sport you want to partake in,
yeah.
there's endless
That's good.
opportunities. So it's great.
Okay. Well, Taylor Hochstein, I wish you luck in the future here.
Thank
and
you.
maybe folks will be seeing you around out on the lake, and you've got a friendly face, and you're going to be able to associate with people on a real positive basis here. I don't doubt that at all. So good luck in the future, and we'll be probably maybe talking to you later.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate
Thank
the
you.
time. Thank you, Tom.
Okay. Thanks for coming. And thank you, folks, for watching Just Outdoors. And remember, stay informed.